Chapter 963. Go, go! Shi Ming roared and controlled two refined corpses to charge at Lu Ming. Bang! Bang! With two loud explosions, the two refined corpses exploded. Lu Ming's fist suddenly sped up and released a terrifying pressure, locking Shi Ming in place. Shi Ming's eyes widened and he growled, "No, no, how can he be so strong? I have to block it." Corpse chi surged from his body and he used all his strength to hit Lu Ming with his palm. This palm was extremely terrifying, but it was like a piece of paper in front of Lu Ming. The terrifying fist force directly penetrated Shi Ming's body. At this moment, it was too late for him to admit defeat. Bang! His body was torn into pieces. The 99-feet-long flood dragon was swallowed by Lu Ming's Dragon of Providence in one gulp. Lu Ming's Dragon of Providence had grown by nearly 100 feet, reaching nearly 96 feet. It was only a few feet away from 100 feet. A terrifying devouring power burst out from his palm and devoured Luo Dao and Shi Ming's blood essence and genuine core strength. Then, his body swayed and he flew forward. His eyes scanned the surrounding thousands of miles, looking for Bai Qixue. On the spectator stand, the people from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace and the Heavenly Corpse sect all looked gloomy. Lu Ming's combat strength was beyond their expectations. Lu Ming had easily killed a genius ranked 30th on the list of top 1,000 talents. How could Lu Ming's combat strength be so strong? Unfortunately, they could only watch. The battlefield was isolated and they could not sense Lu Ming's specific cultivation. This little bastard, did Wang Yan and Wang Qin die at his hands? The head of the Wang family bellowed. His hatred for Lu Ming was insane. However, Martial Emperor De was expressionless and calm. No one knew what he was thinking. Du Songjue, Yan Kuangtu, Supreme Nine Sons and the others smiled. As long as Lu Ming finds Qi Shui and finds a place to hide, he will be safe, said a senior elder of the Talisman Puppet sect. That's right, but Lu Ming has so many luck points now. Even if he doesn't get them, I'm afraid no one has more luck points than him in battlefield number 8. When the time comes, he will still have to participate in the final 8 battles. The other person was a little worried and said with a heavy expression. Thinking of this, the others' faces also darkened. If one didn't have the strength, it would be very difficult to protect one's luck. Lu Ming was flying, and so was Luo Tian. A peerless genius from the Sky Demon Valley was also flying at full speed. They had to find Lu Ming as soon as possible, kill Lu Ming, and steal Lu Ming's luck points. They did not have much time, only an hour. If Lu Ming evaded them for an hour, they would not have a share of Lu Ming's immense karmic luck. Damned Lu Ming, where are you? Luo Tian roared. Suddenly, he saw a few people in front of him and immediately rushed over. Not good, it's Luo Tian. Run, oh! When those people saw Luo Tian, they fled frantically. Die! Luo Tian revealed a ferocious expression as his demonic aura surged. He slashed out with his black demonic saber and killed 2 people instantly. I admit defeat, I admit defeat. The last person screamed crazily. As that person screamed, a pillar of light shrouded him and Luo Tian's saber light could not cut through him. The karmic luck dragon above his head devoured all the karmic luck of the 2 people he killed. The person who admitted defeat also had 90% of his luck points devoured. Then, the person who admitted defeat was sent out and landed on the spectator stand. The karmic luck dragon above Luo Tian's head grew by more than 20 feet. Too little. I still have to find Lu Ming. That chick from the Talisman Puppet sect is not bad either. Luo Tian's eyes were cold as he continued to fly. At this moment, Bai Qi Snow was struggling to resist. The defensive shield around her was constantly vibrating and it seemed like it would not be able to hold on for much longer. Work harder. This chick can't hold on for much longer. The golden-robed young man laughed. Among the 3 of them, the golden-robed young man was a newly risen Sky Pride. However, their strength was comparable to the top 100 Sky Prides on the list of top 1,000 talents. It was already considered good that Bai Chi Snow could hold on for so long when the three of them joined forces. Lu Ming is almost here. On the spectator stand, the eyes of Du Songjue and the others lit up. They were outside and had a high vantage point, so they could see everything clearly. At this moment, they saw Lu Ming rushing towards Bai Chi Snow. Oh no, Luo Tian is also rushing over there. One of the founding elders shouted. Their expressions were extremely ugly and they could not help but clench their fists. Ha ha ha. In the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace, the patriarch of the Wang clan, the patriarch of the Jiang clan, and the others laughed. Lu Ming is destined to die in the hands of our Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace's sky prides. The patriarch of the Wang clan laughed heartily. Swoosh! Lu Ming traveled 100 miles in an instant, crossing countless deserts and stone cliffs under his feet. Along the way, he also encountered other geniuses. However, Lu Ming's speed was too fast. He flashed past them. Those geniuses with weaker cultivation levels did not dare to stop him at all. They fled one after another. Lu Ming was not in the mood to steal their luck. There's a battle ahead. That's Qi Shui. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up when he saw Bai Chi Snow being surrounded by three young men. Rumble. His speed became even faster, bringing about a terrifying sonic boom. The golden-robed young man and the other two were shocked when they heard the terrifying sonic boom. They stopped and looked in the direction of the sonic boom. Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. The three of them were shocked and hurriedly retreated. The three of them stood side by side with a grave look in their eyes. Although many people wanted to kill Lu Ming and steal Lu Ming's luck points, those were the sky prides who ranked at the top. As for the few of them, although their cultivation levels were not weak, they did not have the confidence to go against Lu Ming. Before the Battle of Providence, Lu Ming's combat strength was already very strong. They were only comparable to the top 100 sky prides on the list of top 1,000 talents, so they did not dare to underestimate Lu Ming. Swoosh! Lu Ming's figure appeared above Bai Chi Snow's head. Lu Ming, I knew you would come. Bai Chi Snow said with a smile. Looks like I'm not late. Lu Ming also smiled. At this moment, the golden-robed young man and the other two were secretly discussing. If the three of us join forces, we might be able to kill Lu Ming. Do you want to take a gamble? The golden-robed young man secretly transmitted his voice. Take a gamble? If you want to take a gamble, go ahead. Idiots, didn't you see that Lu Ming's Providence Dragon has grown by more than 100 feet? In just a short while, his Providence Dragon has grown by more than 100 feet. There will definitely be experts stronger than us who will die at Lu Ming's hands. The sky prides of the Heavenly Corpse sect sneered and slowly retreated. The golden-robed young man and the sky prides of the Sky Demon Valley were shocked. Only then did they notice the change in Lu Ming's Providence Dragon. You want to leave? Did I say you could leave? Lu Ming looked at the golden-robed young man and the other two. The three of them were shocked. Lu Ming, what do you want? The golden-robed young man gritted his teeth. Of course I want your luck. Chapter 964. Lu Ming, don't go overboard. If the three of us join forces, we might be able to take you on. The golden-robed young man shouted. Is that so? If you think you can take me on, then let's do it. Lu Ming stepped forward, revealing a faint disdain. Haha, Lu Ming, you're really arrogant. Why are you so arrogant in front of a few pieces of trash? At this moment, a loud laugh sounded from afar. Then, a blade light tore through the void and flew over. Whoosh! The blade light disappeared and a black-robed young man appeared in the sky. It was the demon lord, Luo Tian. Luo Tian is here. Ha, Lu Ming is done for. The golden-robed young man was stunned for a moment before he burst into laughter. He wanted to run away, but now, he didn't. He looked at Lu Ming with a cold smile. Lu Ming, weren't you arrogant just now? Now that the demon lord is here, let's see how you're going to die. The golden-robed young man was also a sky pride of the Imperial Sky Guard and was familiar with Luo Tian. The two sky prides of the Sky Corps sect and Sky Demon Valley slowly retreated to a safe position and watched from afar. Lu Ming, did you kill my younger brother, Luoli? Luo Tian looked coldly at Lu Ming and asked. That's right. He wanted to die, so I could only fulfill his wish. If you want to die, I can also fulfill your wish. Lu Ming replied indifferently. Arrogant. It's useless to rely on your mouth. If we weren't on the Sky Poison Island, I could have suppressed you with a flip of my hand. Luo Tian said. Back when they were on the Sky Poison Island, Luo Tian was very clear about Lu Ming's combat ability. Although Lu Ming's combat ability was not weak, he was a far cry from his. He could easily kill him. Moreover, he had improved during this period of time. Both of your luck will belong to me. Luo Tian looked at Lu Ming and Bai Chi Snow with a burning gaze. The combined fate of Lu Ming and Bai Chi Snow exceeded 1,000,000. Once he obtained it, he would have a fate dragon that was hundreds of feet long. Since ancient times, how many people had a true dragon of luck that exceeded 1,000 feet? Only those rulers who participated in the War of Providence when they were young could achieve that, right? Luo Tian's heart was burning. Clang! The demonic saber was unsheathed and saber light tore through the sky. A terrifying saber light slashed towards Lu Ming. This slash was very sudden. Just as Luo Tian finished speaking, he suddenly attacked. He wanted to kill Lu Ming in one move, not giving Lu Ming a chance to admit defeat. The corner of Lu Ming's mouth twitched slightly as he sent out a palm strike towards Luo Tian's saber light. At this moment, all eyes were on Lu Ming. Lu Ming actually slashed his palm towards Luo Tian's saber light. Was he that confident? The hearts of the Talisman Puppet sect members involuntarily rose. Would Lu Ming be able to block it? This was a strike from Demon Lord Luo Tian, who ranked 10th on the list of top 1,000 talents. How terrifying was that? Many people from the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace looked ferocious. It was as if they could already see the scene of Lu Ming being split into two by the saber. Boom! Lu Ming's palm finally collided with the saber light. To everyone's surprise, the saber light shattered like fragile glass when Lu Ming's palm struck it. How dare you launch a sneak attack with such little power? Lu Ming sneered. Luo Tian's expression changed slightly. Although he did not use his full strength in that strike, he wanted to kill Lu Ming with one strike. The power of the strike was not weak, and it contained 50% of his strength. However, it was actually shattered by Lu Ming's palm strike. It seems that you have made great progress during this period, but you still have to die. I only used 50% of my strength in that strike. Luo Tian said coldly. Oh? 50% of your strength? I'm sorry, but I only used 10% of my strength in that strike. Lu Ming sneered. 10% of your strength? Ha ha ha, what a shameless boast. You're lying through your teeth. Die! Demonic aura surged from Luo Tian's body as a violent aura burst forth. The terrifying saber power filled the entire area. Not far away, the golden-robed youth was shocked and retreated frantically. Is this the strength of Demon Lord Luo Tian? It's too terrifying. The golden-robed youth was shocked. He felt that Luo Tian could kill him with a casual strike. The difference was too great. Peak of the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. Luo Tian's cultivation was at the peak of the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. When they were on Sky Poison Island, Luo Tian's cultivation should have just broken through to the 7th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. Swoosh! The demonic saber was 1,000 meters long as it slashed down towards Lu Ming. Under this strike, the space distorted violently and vibrated as though it was going to be sliced apart. A dragon's roar rang out as Lu Ming burst forth with a burst of dragon's power. Densely packed scales appeared all over his body, and with a stomp, his body shot forward like a cannonball as he struck out with his palm. Lu Ming had already reached the peak of the 7th level of spirit embryo realm and his strength was extremely strong. With the addition of the dragon's power, the space was completely distorted when his palm struck out. Boom! The demonic saber was shattered and Lu Ming's palm continued to push forward. Luo Tian's expression changed drastically. He had used almost 80% of his strength in this strike, yet it was still defeated by Lu Ming's palm. How was this possible? Could it be that what Lu Ming said about him only using 10% of his strength was true? Impossible. Luo Tian denied it in his heart. When they were on Sky Poison Island, Lu Ming was completely suppressed by him and only managed to escape by borrowing the environment of Sky Poison Island. He wasn't willing to believe that in just a few months, Lu Ming's battle power had already surpassed his. This was a huge blow to him. Blood Transformation Devil Saber. Luo Tian shouted and slashed out with his demonic saber. However, Lu Ming's figure didn't stop at all. Four colored concepts revolved around him as he charged forward and struck out with his palm. Pang! 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 The saber lights that Luo Tian slashed out crumbled under Lu Ming's palm. This was a completely one-sided battle. Currently, Lu Ming's 3 kinds of concepts of heaven and earth were all at the peak of the 3rd level. He was only a step away from the 3rd level of perfection. As for the concept of earth, it was almost at the peak of the 3rd level of perfection. How terrifying would the power of the 4 kinds of concepts be? It was probably comparable to a 4th level concept. Luo Tian's concept was only at the 3rd level of perfection and not at the 4th level. In terms of concept, Lu Ming could crush Luo Tian. Boom! 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 After more than 10 moves, Luo Tian's saber lights crumbled and he retreated quickly. Many people on the spectator stand widened their eyes in shock. Impossible! Patriarch Wang, Patriarch Jiang, and the others let out a low roar in disbelief. Lu Ming's battle power was actually so terrifying. How was this possible? Du Songjue, Yan Kuangtu, Supreme 9 Sons, and the others were also surprised, but more than that, they were happy. Lu Ming's battle power was also beyond their expectations. However, the stronger Lu Ming was, the happier they would be. I didn't expect Lu Ming to be in the top 10 of the list of top 1,000 talents. Brother 9 Sons, you have a good eye. Du Songjue stroked his beard and laughed. Lu Ming is also beyond my expectations. Chapter 965. The battle between Lu Ming and Luo Tian had reached its climax. Luo Tian was at a complete disadvantage. Bang! Lu Ming's palm landed on Luo Tian's shoulder. One of Luo Tian's arms almost exploded as he coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. Ah, damn it! Luo Tian roared as a demonic god appeared above his head. This demonic god had 3 heads and 6 arms. Each arm was holding a huge saber. 6 golden chakras were shining brightly. Luo Tian's 3rd bloodline was a level 6 divine bloodline. He was comparable to the patriarchs of the 6 ancient families. His talent was extremely terrifying. Now! 2 more dragon forces erupted from Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming's body instantly appeared above Luo Tian's head as he stomped towards Luo Tian. A terrifying power surged towards Luo Tian. Luo Tian was about to perform bloodline fusion, but he didn't expect Lu Ming's speed to be so shocking. He instantly appeared above Luo Tian's head and unleashed a terrifying attack, interrupting the bloodline fusion. He could only use his saber to block. However, bang! The saber light he slashed out shattered under Lu Ming's feet. A terrifying power pressed down on his body, almost causing him to fall to the ground. Crack! His bones let out cracking sounds as though they were about to explode. He coughed out a mouthful of blood. How can he be so strong? How can his strength be so strong? Do I have to admit defeat? No, I can't admit defeat. How can I admit defeat to Lu Ming? At this moment, many thoughts flashed through Luo Tian's mind. But it was this one thought that decided his fate. Swish! Lu Ming's claws grew long and sharp nails. They were like dragon claws as they clawed at Luo Tian. All of Luo Tian's attacks and defenses exploded in Lu Ming's hands. The dragon-like claws pierced into Luo Tian's chest. No, no! I admit. At this moment, Luo Tian roared madly. He wanted to admit defeat, but Lu Ming's energy exploded, and Luo Tian's heart exploded. Luo Tian's cries came to an abrupt stop. His eyes widened as he stared at Lu Ming in disbelief. He could feel his life force rapidly leaving his body. Endless fear enveloped him. Was he going to die at the hands of Lu Ming? How could this be? In the next moment, everything before his eyes turned black, and he no longer knew anything. His life force had been extinguished. Impossible! Looking at this scene, the Wang clan's clan head roared furiously. Luo Tian, Lu Ming killed Luo Tian. Beside the Wang family head, an old man roared, his killing intent soaring to the heavens. This person was also a paragon of the Imperial Guards. He was Luo Tian's master. He simply could not accept that Luo Tian had actually died. Luo Tian possessed peerless natural talent, and his third bloodline was at the 6th rank of the god rank. Charging into the domain enlightened spirit god realm in the future was something that was 100% certain, and it was even to the extent that it was very likely that he would be able to charge into the exalt realm. Luo Tian was a future paragon, but now he had died just like that. This was an extremely huge loss. How many paragons could there be in the entire Emperor Heaven Divine Palace? This generation had reached a golden age, where geniuses and experts were as numerous as clouds. In the past, a talent like Luo Tian's could suppress an era, and no one would be able to defeat him. Just like those paragons now, when they were young, they were almost invincible, and they defeated all their opponents to become paragons. It was very rare for an era to have a few supreme beings. But this era was different. With Luo Tian's talent, he could only be ranked 10th on the list of top 1,000 talents. Well done. Yan Kuangtu laughed loudly, attracting many murderous gazes from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. But Yan Kuangtu simply ignored them. Martial Emperor Di Yi's face was still very calm, and there was not a trace of emotion in his eyes. It was as if he did not care about Luo Tian's death at all. This Lu Ming is quite interesting. A charming voice came from the Sky Demon Valley's side. This voice was so soft that it made people feel numb all over. It was the voice of a demon emperor. When many young people heard this voice, they felt hot all over and their hearts beat faster. Even the women were no exception. It was as if the voice of a demon emperor was full of infinite charm. It's quite interesting. The corpse emperor spoke. His voice was hoarse and very harsh. Many people wanted to vomit blood when they heard this voice, which was completely different from the demon emperor's voice. Some young people hurriedly operated their qi to stabilize themselves. On the battlefield, Lu Ming's devouring power burst out and devoured Luo Tian, turning him into a mummy. Rumble. Luo Tian's blood essence and genuine core force were very strong. Even his bloodline began to be refined rapidly. Roar. The Providence Dragon above Lu Ming's head directly swallowed Luo Tian's Providence Dragon. In an instant, Lu Ming's Providence Dragon increased by 200 feet. It soared to 117 feet, close to 120 feet. At this time, the color of Lu Ming's Dragon of Luck also changed. Originally, the Dragon of Luck was purple, but now it had turned into a purplish gold color. Not far away, the young man in the golden robe and the Sky Prides of the Heavenly Corpse sect and Sky Beastkin Valley widened their eyes. Luo Tian is dead. Luo Tian was killed by Lu Ming. How could this be? The young man in the golden robe muttered to himself, his eyes full of disbelief. In his eyes, Luo Tian was almost invincible, but he was killed by Lu Ming. This was a huge blow to him. Run! Run! The young man in the golden robe was scared to death. When he thought of joining forces to deal with Lu Ming, he trembled in fear. Lu Ming could probably kill them easily without giving them a chance to fight back. In the distance, the sky prides of the Sky Beastkin Valley and Heavenly Corpse sect were also scared out of their wits. They turned around and ran. Did I say you could leave? Lu Ming looked at them coldly. He executed the 9-dragon sky-stomping steps. His body was like a stream of light as he instantly approached the young man in the golden robe. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. The young man in the golden robe screamed. Suddenly, a beam of light shrouded him. Above Lu Ming's head, the purplish gold Providence Dragon swallowed 90% of the young man's Providence Dragon. Then, the young man in the golden robe was sent out. Lu Ming did not stop. His speed was terrifyingly fast. In a short while, he was about to catch up with the sky prides of the Sky Beastkin Valley and Heavenly Corpse sect. The two of them were horrified and admitted defeat. In the end, 90% of their providence was swallowed by Lu Ming and sent out. Lu Ming, I knew you would come. Bai Qi Shui came to Lu Ming's side with a smile on her face. Let's go and seize the providence. Lu Ming smiled and turned around. Bai Qi Shui followed by his side. In the stands, the people of the Talisman Puppet sect revealed relaxed smiles. In the 8th battlefield, even Luo Tian had been killed by Lu Ming. There was no one who could threaten Lu Ming. The strongest sky pride of the demon race was only on par with Luo Tian. There were a few other sky prides who could transform their providence into dragons. They were definitely not Lu Ming's match. Lu Ming could be said to be unrestrained. Chapter 966. As for Lu Ming, there was no doubt that he would win first place in battlefield number 8. Now, he already had a Providence Dragon that was more than 120 feet long. In battlefield number 8, unless everyone's Providence was added together, they would not be able to compare with Lu Ming's. Next, Lu Ming went on a rampage. Anyone who met Lu Ming and was foolish enough to attack him would be killed by Lu Ming, while others would shout and admit defeat. Half an hour later, Lu Ming was followed by more than 10 disciples of the Talisman Puppet sect. Lu Ming wanted to lead them to the end. Oh no, Ru Kong is in danger. He's going to meet the Emperor God. A founding elder suddenly called out from the spectator stands. There was no more suspense in battlefield number 8. Everyone turned to look at the other battlefields. The people of the Talisman Puppet sect could not help but look at battlefield number 1. The genius of the Talisman Puppet sect, Ru Kong, was in battlefield number 1. Everyone could see that Ru Kong was in a hurry. The Providence Dragon above his head was about 200 feet long. On the other side, the Emperor God was flying toward Ru Kong at a terrifying speed. However, Ru Kong did not seem to notice him. At this rate, the two of them would soon meet. The people of the Talisman Puppet sect were nervous. Sure enough, the two of them met in just a dozen breaths. Ru Kong heard the noise and turned to look. His pupils shrank sharply. Ru Kong did not hesitate and was about to admit defeat. Die! At the same time, the Emperor God attacked. A sword light was unbelievably fast. It seemed to have pierced through layers of space in an instant and slashed Ru Kong's body. Before Ru Kong could say, I admit defeat, he was torn to pieces by the terrifying sword light. It was too fast. Ru Kong could not react in time. Ru Kong! Du Songjue roared in grief. How could this be? The other elders of the Talisman Puppet sect looked gloomy. Ru Kong was an expert second only to Huan Zhen in the Talisman Puppet sect and ranked 15th on the list of top 1,000 talents. However, he was killed just like that. The Emperor God's battle strength was unfathomable. After killing Ru Kong and devouring his Providence Dragon, the Emperor God did not stop at all. He turned into a golden light and flew into the distance. Ha ha ha. Well done, the geniuses of your Talisman Puppet sect will all die. Although Lu Ming managed to keep his life, he will still die if he encounters an imperial god in the future. Mocking laughter rang out from the region of the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace. Du Songjue and the others clenched their fists tightly. The Talisman Puppet sect originally had 13 Zongzi candidates. Previously, 7 of them had perished. Now that another one had perished, there were only 5 left. Then, they looked at Wen Yuezhang and the others. Unfortunately, their luck wasn't good either. They encountered an elite that they couldn't defeat, but fortunately, they weren't killed in a single blow. They all admitted defeat one after another. As time passed, some people were killed, but even more people were defeated or admitted defeat and were teleported out of the battlefield. On the spectator stands, more and more people appeared. Many people sighed. After admitting defeat, they didn't have much luck left. Wan Tingting also appeared on the grandstand. She had encountered a strong opponent and directly admitted defeat. And in the 8 battlefields, the killing became more and more intense. On the 8th battlefield, Lu Ming was almost invincible. Later on, several experts who had reached the dragon transformation realm encountered Lu Ming. However, when they saw Lu Ming's Providence dragon that was hundreds of feet long, their faces changed drastically and they turned to flee. They weren't fools. Needless to say, those who had plotted against Lu Ming had given their luck to Lu Ming since Lu Ming had survived until now and his Providence dragon had soared by dozens of feet. What were they waiting for? However, with Lu Ming's speed, how could they escape? In the end, they admitted defeat one after another. In the end, Lu Ming's true dragon of luck was almost 150 feet long. It was hovering in the sky and one could see it from afar. Those who saw it from afar had a drastic change of expression. They turned and ran. Even the genius from the Sky Monster Valley, who was as famous as Luo Tian, ran faster than anyone else. This made Lu Ming feel a little depressed. They were too far apart and it was more troublesome for him to chase after them. Moreover, he was afraid that he would be lured away and the Talisman Puppet sect disciples would be in danger. Therefore, Lu Ming could not be bothered to chase after them. The outcome of the 8th battlefield had been decided, and so was the 1st battlefield. The other battlefields were filled with smoke. Huan Zhen has encountered Dongfang Yu. An elder from the Talisman Puppet sect shouted. The others looked at the 4th battlefield with their hearts in their mouths. The experts from the other forces also looked at the 4th battlefield. Huan Zhen and Dongfang Yu were going to be a top battle. Huan Zhen was ranked 8th on the list of top 1,000 talents, while Dongfang Yu was ranked 3rd, second only to Di Shen and Xue Jiani. As soon as the two of them met, a fierce battle broke out. However, it was obvious that Dongfang Yu was stronger, but Huan Zhen didn't want to make any mistakes. Huan Zhen was like a bright moon. His entire body glowed, and bright moons appeared in front of him, blocking Huan Zhen's attack. This was an extremely powerful defensive formation that was many times stronger than the one Ji Mai had used to inscribe with his own body. At the same time, inscription arrays constantly appeared beside Huan Zhen. At the same time, inscription talismans were activated. All kinds of light flashed and defensive formations were formed. Although Dongfang Yu was extremely powerful, Huan Zhen was focused on defense. It was impossible for him to break through in a short time. The two of them were in a stalemate. In the end, Dongfang Yu had no choice but to retreat. The people from the Talisman Puppet sect heaved a sigh of relief. The people from the Emperor God Divine Palace snorted unhappily. They felt that it was a pity that Dongfang Yu didn't kill Huan Zhen. At this moment, Fatty and Wang Fenchen were fighting in the 2nd battlefield. Die! When Wang Fenchen saw Fatty, he exploded with killing intent and launched a fierce attack. He knew that Fatty was the disciple of the demonic Sky Divine Emperor, but this was a battle of luck. Even if he killed Fatty, the demonic Sky Divine Emperor couldn't say anything. Damn it, you're still 10,000 years too early to kill me. Fatty shouted and unleashed his bloodline. The 3rd bloodline, 8 golden chakras, almost made Wang Fenchen's eyes pop out. Even the spiritual gods and supremes in the stands couldn't control their emotions. They stood up from the stands with a face of shock. 8th level divine bloodline, it's actually an 8th level divine bloodline. This is too terrifying. Except for the sovereigns, everyone was shocked. Senior demonic skies disciple is indeed extraordinary. Supreme Ninyang sighed. Du Songjue and the others nodded. They had seen Fatty before, but they didn't expect this unreliable Fatty to be so terrifying. As expected of the sovereign's disciple. Damn it! The Wang family head and the others were shocked. An 8th-level divine bloodline was rare in the world. For example, Yen Kuangtu was a 8th-level divine bloodline. He was so powerful that he could fight against 3 supremes alone. They remembered that Fatty was Lu Ming's life and death brother. Fenshin, kill this Fatty, kill him. The Wang family head roared. This Fatty was too terrifying. Once he grew up, he would be another Yen Kuangtu. Chapter 967. Old Monster Mo Tian's eyesight is not bad to have taken in such a disciple. Demon Emperor's soft voice rang out again. Martial Emperor De and the Corpse Emperor's eyes lit up. Even martial emperors were tempted by someone who could awaken an 8th-level divine bloodline. So what if you are an 8th-level divine bloodline? I can still kill you. Wang Fenshin launched a terrifying attack towards Fatty. Although Fatty's bloodline was of a high grade, his cultivation was slightly weaker. It looked like he had just broken through to the 6th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. However, Fatty didn't want to make any mistakes. He was on the defensive the whole time. In the end, he took out a huge shield to isolate Wang Fenshin's flames. Wang Fenshin continued to attack. Fatty shouted, but he could not break through the shield. Time continued to pass. Suddenly, the 8 battlefields shook and the light shield shone brightly. All the people in the battlefields were teleported out. An hour was up. Huh, you want to deal with me? Dream on. Fatty found himself on the spectator stand. He laughed arrogantly and looked at Wang Fenshin provocatively. Wang Fenshin's eyes were about to spit fire. Fatty, you have awakened an 8th-level divine bloodline. Impressive. At this moment, a huge axe was floating above Fatty's head. 8 golden chakras were shining brightly. Bai Qi Shui widened her eyes and looked at Fatty in shock. Lu Ming was also surprised. He did not expect Fatty's 3rd bloodline to be so terrifying. It was actually an 8th-level divine bloodline. No wonder Fatty was so mysterious when they first met. When Lu Ming asked him, he did not say anything. Countless pairs of eyes were looking at Fatty. Some were shocked, some were envious, and some were jealous. Ha ha ha, excuse me. This is talent. It can't be helped. I was born with it. Fatty was extremely proud and laughed heartily. When he saw others looking at him, he felt extremely comfortable. He laughed so hard that he could not even open his eyes. God is so unfair. He actually let this damn Fatty awaken an 8th-level divine bloodline. Someone in Emperor Heaven Divine Palace gritted his teeth. That's right. What a waste. It's like a flower being stuck in cow dung. Someone said again. The Fatty's ears twitched a few times. When he heard these words, he was instantly displeased. He stared at these people with an unfriendly gaze and shouted, "You guys are the fucking cow dung. Every single one of you is just envious and jealous. I am a proud son of heaven. In the future, I am destined to dominate the world and trample all of you under my feet. Damn it, this damn Fatty is really arrogant." Those people almost vomited blood from anger. Di Shen, Shuejiani, Ao2, and the others also looked at Fatty solemnly. Fatty's cultivation was still low, but once he grew stronger, he would become their greatest enemy. At this time, many people looked at Lu Ming and were stunned. The dragon of luck above Lu Ming's head was too big and long. It was 1,000 feet long. It was too shocking. They had originally thought that Lu Ming would definitely be killed by Luo Tian or the geniuses of the Sky Demon Valley in Battlefield No. 8. They had not expected him to still be alive. Moreover, the length of his Dragon of Providence had become even more terrifying. What? Lu Ming killed Luo Tian. When they found out the truth, they were all dumbfounded. Lu Ming could actually kill Luo Tian. How could Lu Ming's combat strength be so strong? Before the start of the battle, some people had thought that Luo Tian and the others were lucky to be assigned to the same battlefield as Lu Ming. Now, their faces were pale and cold sweat was dripping down their backs. This was not good luck, it was bad luck. If they had been assigned to battlefield number 8, they might have suffered the same fate as Luo Tian. They knew that they had underestimated Lu Ming. Di Shen and the others looked at Lu Ming with surprise. At this time, the 8 battlefields on the fighting ring had all disappeared and returned to their original appearance. At the same time, 8 rays of light fell on the 8 people. They were Lu Ming, Di Shen, Ao Tu, Shui Jiani, Shi Zhan, Feng Xian, Dong Fangyu, and Wang Fenchen. These 8 people were the 8 people with the highest providence value in the 8 battlefields. Among them, Lu Ming was the only one from the Talisman Puppet sect. Di Shen, Dong Fangyu, and Wang Fenchen had the most people from Di Shen's palace. Shui Jiani and Shi Zhan were the 2 from Heavenly Corpse sect. Ao Tu and Feng Xian were the 2 from Sky Monster Valley. Feng Xian was an extremely beautiful woman and a peerless genius from Sky Monster Valley. She had the phoenix bloodline in her body. Next, the 8 geniuses would compete for each other's providence. The rules were the same as before. If you were defeated, half of your providence would be taken away. If you admitted defeat, 90% of your providence would be taken away. If you were killed, all of your providence would belong to your opponent. Next was the final battle of the Providence Battle. It was also the most powerful battle. Every one of them was extremely powerful. Among them, Lu Ming was a dark horse. There was another dark horse, Feng Xian from Sky Monster Valley. Both of them were rising geniuses. The others were all famous geniuses in the Eastern Wilderness. Ao Tu was considered a genius who could compete with Di Shen. Some people thought that Ao Tu was stronger than Shui Jiani, who ranked second on the list of top 1,000 talents. Di Shen ranked first on the list of top 1,000 talents. Most people thought that Di Shen was the top genius of the younger generation in the Eastern Wilderness and was invincible. Dong Fangyu ranked third on the list of top 1,000 talents. Shi Zhan ranked fourth on the list of top 1,000 talents. Wang Fenchen ranked fifth on the list of top 1,000 talents. Everyone was looking forward to the next battle. After this battle, the list of top 1,000 talents would be rearranged. Buzz! Of the 8 rays of light, 6 had disappeared, leaving only 2 behind. One light shrouded Lu Ming, while the other shrouded Wang Fenchen. The first battle was between Lu Ming and Wang Fenchen. Everyone's eyes fell on the 2 of them. Wang Fenchen looked at Lu Ming with a strong killing intent in his eyes. "Fenchen, are you confident?" The Wang clan leader asked. "His providence is mine." Wang Fenchen licked his lips with a greedy look. He moved and landed on the fighting ring. "Lu Ming, if you can't beat him, you can admit defeat," Du Songjue warned in a low voice. I believe that Lu Ming will win." Yan Kuangtu laughed. "Fatty, you were burned by this guy. I'll avenge you now." Lu Ming smiled. He took a step forward and landed on the fighting ring. Both of them had a true dragon of providence above their heads. Right now, Wang Fenchen's true dragon of providence was a full 500 feet long. However, in front of Lu Ming's true dragon of providence, it looked like a tiny dot. Lu Ming's true dragon of providence looked down on it. "Lu Ming, I have to thank you for getting so much providence. It's all mine later." The greed in Wang Fenchen's eyes grew stronger. "You're very confident. Luo Tian was so confident before, but I killed him in the end." Lu Ming smiled, revealing a contemptuous expression. "Humph, don't compare me with Luo Tian. I can kill him if I fight with all my strength." Wang Fenchen said coldly. "Oh? Really? Shall we have a life and death duel?" Chapter 968. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. In the ancient battle platform of the ancient city of Providence, a life-and-death battle could be set. However, once it was set, both sides had to fight to the death. If they did not fight to the death, it would not end. They could not even admit defeat. Originally, the last battle would only last for half an hour. If the winner was not decided after half an hour, the winner would be automatically determined. However, once the life-and-death battle was set, there would be no time limit. It would only end when one side died in battle. Setting the life-and-death battle meant that there was no way out. One had to win. If one lost, one would die. Even sovereigns and rulers could not interfere. One had to be extremely confident in themselves to set the life-and-death battle. Would Wang Fengchen dare to agree? Everyone's eyes were focused on Wang Fengchen. At this moment, Wang Fengchen's eyes were uncertain. He stared at Lu Ming as if he wanted to see through him. Was Lu Ming bluffing, or was he really that strong? Did he dare to have a life-and-death battle with him? However, Lu Ming's expression was calm. He could not tell at all. Moreover, he did not see the specific situation in the battle between Lu Ming and Luo Tian. He was not sure about Lu Ming's strength. Do you dare or not? Lu Ming spoke again. His voice was calm but aggressive. Why should I agree to the life-and-death battle? Anyway, I'm definitely going to win this battle. Wang Fengchen quibbled. Ridiculous. Since you think you're going to win, why don't you agree to the life-and-death battle? Back in Nine Dragon City, your Wang family's patriarch was almost killed by me. You must hate me to the bone, right? You want to kill me 10,000 times. Since you want to kill me and have the confidence to do so, why don't you agree to the life-and-death battle? There's only one reason. You're afraid. You're not confident in killing me. You're not confident in this battle. If you're not confident in yourself, how can you defeat me? Lu Ming's words hit Wang Fengchen's heart. Every word hit Wang Fengchen's vital point. If Wang Fengchen did not even have the confidence to win, how could he defeat Lu Ming? Damn you, little bastard! The head of the Wang family growled as his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. That day in the Nine Dragons City, he was almost beaten to death by Lu Ming. This was the shame of his life. Now, Lu Ming actually brought up the old matter again, and even used it to pressure Wang Fengchen. This made the head of the Wang family furious. Lu Ming, you almost killed the old one. How could a young one dare to fight you to the death? I think that Wang something Tian should just admit defeat. Don't embarrass yourself here. The Wang clan is a bunch of cowards. The fatty laughed loudly, and his words were even more insulting. The patriarch of the Wang clan and Wang Fengchen almost exploded from anger. At this time, Wang Fengchen's face was flushed red. He was burning with anger and his killing intent was blazing. All right, I promise you. Wang Fengchen roared. He had to win this battle. After hearing Lu Ming's words, if he still did not win, his martial arts heart would be unstable. Moreover, the entire Wang family would become the laughingstock of Eastern Wilderness. He wanted to grind Lu Ming's bones and turn him into ashes. All right, I will fight to the death with Wang Fengchen. Lu Ming said loudly. Fight to the death. Wang Fengchen replied. A blazing aura rushed into the sky. Buzz! At this moment, a faint blood light appeared on Lu Ming and Wang Fengchen's bodies. This meant that the fight to the death had been set. It was useless to admit defeat until one of them died. Raging flames burned the sky. Wang Fengchen's killing intent was cold, but his body was filled with raging flames. Wang Fengchen seemed to have turned into a man of fire. His muscles, bones, and even his hair were burning as if they had all turned into flames. 6 fingers burned the sky, destroy with 1 finger. Wang Fengchen strode forward and pointed his finger. A finger was formed by flames. It was hundreds of meters long and had clear fingerprints on it. It was like the finger of a god. It pointed towards Lu Ming. A terrifying heat and killing intent burst out and surged towards Lu Ming. Wang Fengchen used a terrifying killing move as soon as he made his move. Since he had agreed to the fight to the death, Wang Fengchen let go of everything and fought with all his might. A dragon's roar sounded. Lu Ming burst out with a dragon's power. His body was covered with scales and surrounded by 4 types of concepts. He punched out. Boom! The fist and Fenchen's finger collided. The fist and the flaming finger collided, and waves of energy burst out. One side of the 100-mile-long and wide battle stage was covered with purple flames, while the other side was covered with 4 colors. In the end, the flaming finger exploded. Lu Ming's body trembled slightly and he took 2 steps back. The fusion of the destruction concept and the fire concept. And the cultivation of the early stage of the 8th level of spirit embryo realm. After exchanging a blow, Lu Ming had a rough idea of Wang Fenchen's strength. Wang Fengchen had comprehended 2 concepts and successfully fused them. The destruction concept and the fire concept had reached the 3rd level of perfection. When they fused together, their destructive power was terrifying. If this was not the ancient city of fate's battle stage, it would have been destroyed and turned into lava. Moreover, Wang Fenchen's cultivation was higher than Luo Tian's. He had reached the early stage of the 8th level of spirit embryo realm. Wang Fengchen was indeed a peerless genius ranked 5th on the list of top 1,000 talents. His strength was terrifying. 6 fingers burn the sky, suppress with 2 fingers. 6 fingers burn the sky, destroy with 3 fingers. 6 fingers burn the sky, destroy with 4 fingers. Wang Fenchen's flaming vital essence burst out as he pointed 3 fingers. The 3 huge fingers formed a triangle and slammed towards Lu Ming. Prison suppressing heaven skill. The vital essence in Lu Ming's body roared and boiled as he activated the prison suppressing heaven skill to 50% of its power. If he used the prison suppressing heaven skill at full strength, it would be equivalent to the power of a low-grade divine martial technique. A low-grade divine martial technique was equivalent to the 1st level of a low-grade divine martial technique. Only an expert of the spiritual god realm could unleash its full power. Now that he had reached the peak of the 7th level of spirit embryo realm, he did not have enough vital essence to unleash its full power. However, 50% of its power was still terrifying. Boom! 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 Lu Ming punched 3 times in a row as the power of the prison-suppressing steel erupted and suppressed everything. The 3 flaming fingers were immediately destroyed and dissipated into flames. Wang Fenchen's expression changed slightly as he waved his hands and pointed 2 more fingers. 6 fingers burn the sky, shatter 5 fingers, burn the sky with 6 fingers. The 2 finger forces struck out one after another, causing the space to tremble like a piece of cloth. Wherever the finger forces passed, the space turned into a vacuum. Lu Ming felt a terrifying power surging towards him. This power was incomparably hot as if it wanted to turn him into ashes. 4 kinds of concepts revolved around him and formed a battle armor that covered his entire body. Lu Ming took a big step forward and punched out 2 more times in a row. 2 earth-shattering explosions rang out as if the entire ancient city of fate was violently shaking. Terrifying energy swept out in all directions. However, when it reached the edge of the battle stage, it was blocked by an invisible energy and couldn't charge over at all. The 2 flaming fingers were destroyed by Lu Ming's attack and collapsed. Chapter 969. Wang Fenchen's expression became very grave. He did not show any mercy. His first move was a killer move. He wanted to kill Lu Ming with powerful means. He did not expect Lu Ming to be so terrifying that he could defeat his attack and kill him. A purple flame floated above his head. As soon as this flame appeared, the space around it began to crackle. It was as if space itself was fuel that was being burned by this flame. The 7 golden chakras on this ball of flame also attracted everyone's attention. Level 7 Divine Class Bloodline. Wang Fenchen's bloodline had reached the terrifying level of Level 7 Divine Class. Wang Fenchen's body turned into light and merged with the bloodline. Then, the purple flame twisted and turned into a flame giant that was more than 10 meters tall. The flame giant held a flame sword and slashed at Lu Ming. The scorching flame made Lu Ming's four-color intent realm tremble. Kill! Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. The 9 dragons' bloodline appeared. In the next moment, Lu Ming turned into 9 dragons. Level 6 Divine Class 9 Dragons Bloodline. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on Lu Ming and the 9 dragons' bloodline. It's the 9 dragons, the legendary 9 dragons. I didn't expect Lu Ming to awaken the 9 dragons' bloodline. God, the 9 dragons are more powerful than the real dragons. I've never heard of anyone who could awaken the 9 dragons' bloodline. As soon as the 9 dragons' bloodline appeared, there were exclamations. Especially those from Emperor Sky Divine Palace and Sky Demon Valley. The 9 dragons' bloodline, it's the 9 dragons' bloodline. No wonder he can control the divine 9 dragon cauldron. It must be related to the 9 dragons' bloodline. The Wang family head muttered to himself. The 9 dragons' bloodline. I must get it. A flood dragon supremacy from the demon clan stared at Lu Ming with burning eyes. He could not wait to swallow Lu Ming. AO2, the flood dragon clan's sky prides, also had burning eyes. The 9 dragons' bloodline was a fatal temptation for the flood dragon clan's elders. Back then, you personally attacked and wanted to capture Lu Ming. It seems that you already knew that he had the 9 dragons' bloodline. Your goal was the 9 dragons' bloodline, right? Said the Imperial Bestial Beast. 2 bright eyes fell on Imperial Bestial DE. Many people's hearts trembled. Perhaps that was really the case. Humph. Emperor DE snorted and didn't say anything. Roar. On the fighting ring, dragon roars shook the sky. The 9 dragons stepped on the sky, and the 9 claws grabbed Wang Fenshen's battle sword. A rumbling sound rang out, and the battle sword collapsed. The dragon claw didn't stop, and it continued to attack. The flame giant roared angrily. Its terrifying fist blasted towards Lu Ming, but it was blocked by a dragon claw. Bang! 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 The 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps were executed consecutively. 6 consecutive waves of power blasted towards the flame giant. At the same time, he opened his mouth and devouring power burst out, enveloping the flame giant. Immediately, the flames on the flame giant's body trembled non-stop, as if they were about to collapse. Whoosh! The divine dragon swings its tail. The 9 tails lashed out at the flame giant. This move contained the power of the suppressing hell skill. Bang! The flame giant was heavily hit by the dragon's tail. A large part of its huge body exploded, and a huge gap appeared on its body. The flame giant staggered back. The gap on its body quickly healed, and the flames once again filled the air. Raging flames sky burning sword. The flame giant roared angrily. The battle sword in his hand slashed out a blazing sword light, slashing towards the 9 dragons' heads. However, the 9 dragons' sharp claws blocked his sword. The 2 of them fought fiercely, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of moves. Of course, during this process, Lu Ming only released a strand of dragon force. He didn't use his full strength. Wang Fenshen was only his first opponent. There would be stronger opponents later. His final opponent was Di Shen. Wang Fenshen's strength was indeed terrifying. If he fought with Luo Tian at the same level, he would be stronger than Luo Tian. However, although Wang Fenshen was strong, Lu Ming was stronger. After dozens of moves, he was completely suppressed by Lu Ming. Puff! Puff! The 9 dragons roared and grabbed the flame giant with their claws. They tore the flame giant apart, turning it into flames. However, the flames retreated and started to condense in the air again. The advantage of having a natural bloodline was that it had extremely tenacious vitality. However, Lu Ming wouldn't give him the chance. He stomped his dragon claws and unleashed the 9 dragon sky stomping steps. A huge force bombarded the flames. The flames that were about to condense exploded again. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the scene. Was Wang Fengchen going to be defeated? Was this peerless genius who had awakened a level 7 divine bloodline going to be killed by Lu Ming? No, no, damn it. The Wang family head's heart was in his mouth. He was the most nervous. Wang Fengchen was a rare peerless genius of the Wang family. He was even more talented than him when he was young. He was going to inherit his legacy in the future. However, he was in danger now. Because this was a life and death battle. Only when one side died would they stop. But now, Wang Fengchen was completely suppressed. Roar! The 9 dragons roared and a devouring force erupted from their mouths. They swallowed the flames that Wang Fengchen had exploded into. No! Wang Fengchen's horrified scream could be heard from the flames. The flames that were devoured by the 9 dragons were constantly being refined by the terrifying refining force of the 9 dragons. Don't you have strong vitality and can condense? Then I'll refine you. The remaining flames quickly flew backward and gathered together to form Wang Fengchen's appearance. At this moment, his face was pale and his body was trembling. Blood kept flowing out from the corner of his mouth. His eyes revealed a strong sense of horror. Bam! Bam! The 9 dragons stepped forward and pressed towards Wang Fengchen. No, Lu Ming, don't kill me. Let me go. Wang Fengchen screamed in horror and retreated. He had no strength to fight anymore. Let you go. Have you forgotten that this is a life and death battle? Lu Ming sneered. You're the winner. You're the winner now. If the winner speaks, he can let the opponent go. Wang Fengchen shouted. A life and death battle was a battle of life and death. Usually, it would only end when one side died. Of course, there was another situation where the winner took the initiative to let the opponent go. However, since it was a life and death battle, how could the winner let the opponent go? Huh, Wang Fengchen, are you kidding me? Why should I let you go? Lu Ming laughed. Wang Fengchen was speechless. That's right. Why should Lu Ming let him go? They were mortal enemies. However, he really didn't want to die. With his peerless talent, he would have no problem becoming a supreme being in the future. He even wanted to become the supreme emperor and dominate the eastern wilderness. He had a boundless future. Why would he want to die? However, why should he ask Lu Ming to let him go? He couldn't help but look at the Wang family head. Lu Ming, let Fengchen go. I won't pursue the past. Chapter 970. Old man, who do you think you are? Lu Ming glanced at the head of the Wang clan and continued, you still say you won't pursue the matter? You and those old men attacked me together. I should be the one to pursue the matter. Do I need you to not pursue the matter? Ridiculous. His calm voice was filled with contempt. It spread throughout the place, making some people stunned. Contempt, this was blatant contempt. Lu Ming was looking down on a prime. The head of the Wang clan said he would not pursue the matter, but Lu Ming's meaning was clear. Did he need the head of the Wang clan to not pursue the matter? The one who should pursue the matter was him, Lu Ming. What a big tone, what a big confidence. However, at this moment, no one thought that Lu Ming was arrogant. Wang Fengchen had been defeated by Lu Ming. He had the right to be arrogant. In the future, he would have a great chance to become a prime. At that time, why would he be afraid of the head of the Wang clan? The head of the Wang clan was red in the face. He was furious. How many years had it been? Since he had become a prime, no one had dared to talk to him like that. No one had dared to look down on him like that. Even the other primes were polite to him. Now, he was being looked down on by a young man in his 20s. This was an insult to him. Lu Ming turned back into his human form. He sneered and said, Old man, you said you won't pursue the matter. But can you represent the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace? Then, he looked at Martial Emperor De. The head of the Wang clan and the others also looked at Martial Emperor De. That's right. The head of the Wang clan was not in charge of the Emperor Heavenly Divine Palace, but Martial Emperor De. At this moment, Martial Emperor De looked at Lu Ming with cold eyes. Lu Ming was not afraid at all. He looked at Martial Emperor De with a hint of provocation. Everyone was shocked. Lu Ming was simply audacious. He actually dared to look at Martial Emperor De in such a manner. However, Martial Emperor De did not say anything. The light in his eyes disappeared and he became calm again. The head of the Wang clan looked terrible. Wang Fenshen was in despair. Martial Emperor De's attitude explained everything. Kill! Suddenly, Lu Ming moved. His body moved like lightning as he rushed towards Wang Fenshen. No! Wang Fenshen roared, trying his best to resist. However, he was currently heavily injured and did not have much strength left. How could he be Lu Ming's match? In just a few moves, his bones and tendons were already snapped. Spurting large mouthfuls of blood, he collapsed to the ground like a dying dog. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming stepped on the fighting stage and condensed a long spear in his hand. He walked towards Wang Fenshen with a cold killing intent covering his whole body. No, don't kill me, I don't want to die. Wang Fenshen roared. His body kept twisting as he tried to escape. His eyes were filled with endless fear. In his entire life, he had killed countless geniuses. Who knew how many of them he had slain? But now that he was about to die in the hands of another genius, he could not help but feel fear. Whoosh! Under everyone's gaze, the spear pierced through Wang Fenshen's heart. Powerful energy erupted and crushed Wang Fenshen's heart. Patriarch, avenge me! Wang Fenshen let out an unwilling roar. Then, his life was extinguished. A genius of the generation had been killed by Lu Ming. The crowd sighed. If such a genius did not die, he would definitely become a figure who dominated the eastern wilderness in the future. It would not be a problem for him to become a supreme being. Unfortunately, there were countless geniuses in the world, but how many of them could grow up? A dead genius was destined to be a stepping stone for others. Lu Ming, I will kill you. The Wang family head roared, emitting a cold killing intent. His eyes were red, and his heart was bleeding. This time, the Wang family had suffered a great loss. The Wang family had a total of 4 geniuses ranked in the top 100 of the list of top 1,000 talents. However, 2 of them had died before this. Now, even Wang Fenshen, who was the most talented, had died. Now, the Wang family was left with only 1 genius. Originally, the Wang family had 4 geniuses ranked in the top 100 of the list of top 1,000 talents. It was as if the Wang family would rise quickly, surpass the other 5 ancient families, and become the leader of the ancient families in Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. But now, everything was in vain. His hatred for Lu Ming could not be washed away even with all the water in the world. Old man, that's what I wanted to say as well. Right now, it's just a little interest. In the future, I'll personally take your dog head. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Wang Yan and Wang Chen were also killed by me. Lu Ming said coldly with a cold smile on his face. You deserve to die. The Wang family head roared angrily. As a supreme being who had lived for thousands of years, he had a strong mind and had seen many storms. He would not get angry so easily. However, he could not remain calm in front of Lu Ming. In the Battle of 9 Dragons, he was almost beaten to death by Lu Ming. Now, many geniuses of the Wang family had died at the hands of Lu Ming. He hated Lu Ming to the core. If it were not for the fact that his cultivation was completely suppressed in the ancient city of fate, he would have turned Lu Ming into ashes immediately. He took a few deep breaths to calm down. At this moment, Lu Ming's dragon of fate had devoured Wang Fenshen's dragon of fate. Lu Ming's dragon of fate had grown to almost 200 feet. At the same time, the devouring power erupted and devoured Wang Fenshen into a mummy. Then, he took his storage ring and kicked him off the fighting ring. The Wang family head was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Lu Ming moved and returned to the spectator stand. Amazing. Lu Ming, you've avenged me. That Wang Fenshen was so arrogant and dared to burn me with fire. Now, he's a dead dog. The fat man laughed so excitedly that his mouth cracked. Also, Lu Ming, did you see that old man from the Wang family was so angry that his face turned red and smoke came out of his head? It was so exciting. The fat man continued to laugh. He did not lower his voice at all and it spread throughout the arena. The Wang family head, who had just calmed down, was furious again. He was so angry that he trembled all over. These juniors deserve to die, he roared in his heart. Yan Kuangtu drank a few mouthfuls of wine and laughed heartily. The others were a little speechless. These people were simply lawless. They did not know how to write the word fear. Then, the battle continued. 2 more beams of light fell on 2 figures. AO2 from Heavenly Demon Valley and Dongfang Yu from Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Many people's eyes suddenly shone with amazing light. It was another exciting battle. Dongfang Yu ranked 3rd on the list of top 1,000 talents, while AO2 was said to be able to compete with Emperor gods. The battle between the two would definitely be exciting. The 2 figures landed on the fighting ring. Without saying anything, the battle immediately broke out. Dongfang Yu was extremely powerful. He had cultivated 2 divine-level cultivation techniques and his cultivation was at the early stage of the 8th tier of Spirit Embryo Realm. His bloodline was the same as Wang Fenshen's, a 7th divine-level bloodline. Dongfang Yu's overall strength was slightly stronger than Wang Fenshen's. However, AO2 was stronger. AO2 had more than 70% of the bloodline of a real dragon, almost 80%. He transformed into a flood dragon and fought with Dongfang Yu like a real dragon. The two fought fiercely for more than 50 moves. In the end, Dongfang Yu was defeated and admitted defeat, losing 90% of his luck. Chapter 971. The battle continued. When AO2 and Dongfang Yu descended from the sky, 2 beams of light landed on the corpse battle from the Heavenly Corpse sect and the Arch-God. Di Shen was going to fight. At this moment, everyone's attention was on him. Di Shen was regarded as the #1 genius in the Eastern Wilderness. How strong was he? In the previous Battle of Providence, he had not encountered a decent opponent at all. Those who encountered him were all easily killed. His strength was simply unfathomable in the hearts of everyone. Now, Shi Zhan, who was ranked 4th on the list of top 1,000 talents, could force Di Shen to show his true strength. Everyone was looking forward to it. Even Lu Ming was shocked. In his mind, Di Shen was his ultimate opponent. The 2 figures landed on the fighting ring. Shi Zhan looked dignified. Admit defeat. Di Shen's indifferent voice rang out. His posture was ramrod straight, and he was extraordinarily handsome. Just by standing there casually, he exuded the aura of a king, as if he was invincible. Yes, Di Shen had never been defeated by a younger generation. He was considered a rare genius who had the potential to become an emperor in the future. The last genius who had the potential to become an emperor was Yan Kuangtu, and that was 100 years ago. He was asking Shi Zhan to admit defeat. In my heart, there's no such thing as admitting defeat, not even to you, Di Shen. Shi Zhan's eyes were filled with a strong fighting spirit. I'll defeat you in 10 moves. Di Shen's indifferent voice rang out, full of strong confidence. Bam! He took a step forward, and a shocking sword chi burst out from his body and soared into the sky. The terrifying sword power spread toward Shi Zhan. Roar! With a loud roar, Shi Zhan unleashed his bloodline. It was a skeleton, an incomparably huge skeleton, shaped like an incomparably huge elephant. The skeleton of an ancient war elephant. Someone said softly, recognizing the origins of this skeleton. It was a skeleton formed by a powerful divine beast, surrounded by 7 golden chakras. It was also a 7th-level divine bloodline. Shi Zhan performed bloodline fusion and turned into the skeleton of an ancient war elephant. It stomped on the ground and attacked Di Shen with great power. However, Di Shen's eyes were still calm. Clang! A sword cry rang out as a purple-gold sword light soared into the sky. It was filled with a luxurious aura. Boom! The purple-gold sword chi crossed dozens of miles of space and slashed at the ancient war elephant skeleton. A terrifying explosion resounded as sword chi shot out in all directions. The ancient war elephant skeleton was forced to retreat. Clang! 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 Sword cries resounded unceasingly as sword chi after sword chi burst out. Each sword chi was more terrifying than the last as they continuously slashed towards the ancient war elephant skeleton. The ancient war elephant roared and unleashed its full strength to resist the sword chi of the Emperor God. However, every time it received a strike, it would be forced back 5 miles. After receiving 9 consecutive strikes, the ancient war elephant had already retreated close to 50 miles. Then, with a bang, the ancient war elephant exploded and turned back into Corpse Warrior. Corpse Warrior's face was pale and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was trembling and he could not even stand properly. There was shock and disbelief in his eyes. I admit defeat. Corpse Warrior let out a long sigh. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when Corpse Battle admitted defeat. At the same time, they looked at the Emperor God in shock. Too strong. The Emperor God was too strong. He said that he would defeat Corpse Warrior in 10 moves, and he really only used 10 strikes before Corpse Warrior admitted defeat. In fact, the Emperor God did not even use bloodline fusion. The Emperor God is too strong. No one can defeat him. Even AO2 and Shuejiani are no match for him. That's right. Until now, we still don't know how much strength he has used. It's too terrifying and unfathomable. Many people were discussing in shock. Even the Supremes could not stay calm. Only the 3 sovereigns were still calm. In the stands, Shuejiani and AO2's eyes were extremely solemn. Lu Ming's eyes were also solemn. Lu Ming, are you confident in defeating the Emperor God? Du Songjue asked Lu Ming in a low voice. I'm not confident. Lu Ming shook his head. He was indeed not confident. Even if he used all his strength, he was not confident. Corpse Warrior's battle strength was definitely not weaker than Wang Fengchen, but he was still easily defeated by the Emperor God. His battle strength was simply unfathomable. His cultivation should still be at the 8th level of the spirit embryo realm, but he should have reached the peak of the 8th level. However, I'm not too sure about his martial arts and bloodline level. Yan Kuangtu said. You've been in the Emperor God Palace for so many years, but you're not too sure. Du Songjue said. Yan Kuangtu shook his head and said, the Emperor God has always been secretly nurtured by DE. I know very little about him. Lu Ming, if you really can't defeat the Emperor God, just admit defeat. In the end, Yan Kuangtu said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes flashed, but he did not answer. Really can't defeat him? What if I break through again? Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind. Unfortunately, I'm still a little short. It's getting harder and harder to raise my cultivation. Lu Ming thought secretly. The 9 Dragons bloodline was refining Wang Fengchen's blood essence continuously. At this moment it was almost done, but his cultivation was still at the peak of the 7th level of the spirit embryo realm. According to Yan Kuangtu, the Emperor God's cultivation was at the peak of the 8th level of the spirit embryo realm. If Lu Ming's cultivation also broke through to the 8th level of the spirit embryo realm, he would be confident. Lu Ming was not afraid of anyone at the same level. He had this confidence. Then let's start refining the origin stones. Thinking of this, a large amount of origin stones appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The power of devouring burst forth from his palm and swallowed the large amount of origin stones, starting to refine them. The Emperor God won and swallowed 90% of Corpse Battle's fate before returning to the spectator stand. The next battle was between Xue Jianyi and Feng Xian of the Sky Demon Valley. Feng Xian of the Sky Demon Valley had the Phoenix bloodline and had also reached 70%. Her battle power was incomparably strong and her speed was extremely fast. She started a pinnacle battle with Xue Jianyi. This battle could be said to be the most intense of the 4 battles. The two of them fought for a total of 200 moves before the victor was decided. In the end, Xue Jianyi won by a little. At this point, the strongest 4 had appeared. They were Lu Ming, the Emperor God, Ao2, and Xue Jianyi. Next, it was the battle between the 4 of them. After these few battles, Lu Ming had a rough idea of everyone's strength. Dong Fengyu, corpse battle, and Wang Fengchen's strength were very close and on the same level. As for Feng Xian, she was slightly stronger than the 3 of them and not much weaker than Xue Jianyi. Xue Jianyi, Ao2, and Feng Xian should be on the same level. As for the Emperor God, he was unfathomable and hard to predict. Lu Ming's thoughts were similar to the majority of the people. In the hearts of others, Lu Ming's strength was placed on the same level as Xue Jianyi, Ao2, and Feng Xian. Lu Ming could kill Wang Fengchen, but if Xue Jianyi, Ao2, and the rest were to use their full strength, they could also kill Wang Fengchen. Chapter 972. Among the 4 of them, Di Shen, Xue Jianyi, and Ao2 were the strongest representatives of the younger generation in Eastern Wilderness. Lu Ming, on the other hand, was a dark horse. It was the battle in 9 Dragons that really made him famous. That battle involved too many experts. Yan Kuangtu, Supreme 9 Sons, and even Martial Emperor Di from the 6 great ancient families of the Central Continent Ancient Saint Dynasty. After this battle, Lu Ming's name spread throughout the Eastern Wilderness. But the most famous one was Lu Ming's ability to control the divine 9-dragon cauldron. As for Lu Ming's talent, it was ignored. Many people thought that Lu Ming's talent and combat strength were not particularly top-notch. They thought that he was not even comparable to the top 100 of the list of top 1,000 talents. But now, Lu Ming overturned everyone's thoughts with his actions. Facts had proven that Lu Ming's talent was unparalleled and unparalleled. He was not weaker than anyone else. As a dark horse, he rushed into the top 4 and killed Luo Tian and Wang Fengchen. Now, he was going to fight against the 3 most powerful geniuses of the Eastern Wilderness. Although Lu Ming is talented, he is young and impetuous. He is too showy and doesn't know how to restrain himself. He has offended the Wang family's master and other supreme martial artists, Martial Emperor Di, and even the supreme martial artist from Sky Demon Valley. Such a genius is destined to not live long. That's right. In history, there were many peerless geniuses, but not many of them reached the end and became emperors. Why? Because they showed off too much and didn't know how to restrain themselves. In the end, they died tragically. That's true. In my opinion, Lu Ming will end up like this in the end. Around them, many people were discussing in low voices. At this moment, the vortex in the Talisman Puppets sect flashed slightly and a figure appeared. It was Bai Shijin. Seeing Bai Shijin, Lu Ming was overjoyed. "Senior, how is it?" Lu Ming asked. "Don't worry, everything is settled. They are now in Liangyi Mountain," Bai Shijin said. "Thank you, Senior." Lu Ming thanked him. At this moment, a beam of light fell on Lu Ming's body. He was going to fight. Lu Ming looked over and saw another beam of light landing on Ao Tuesday. This battle was between Lu Ming and Ao Tuesday. Ao2's eyes flickered with a shocking battle intent. Boom! Ao2's burly body fell heavily on the fighting ring. His body was filled with a violent aura. Lu Ming stepped forward and appeared on the fighting ring, facing Ao Tuesday. Bai Shijin was incomparably shocked. He did not know what was going on, and after understanding the situation, he was even more shocked. He never thought that Lu Ming would be able to reach this step, kill Wang Fengchen, and fight Ao Tuesday. Lu Ming, the 9 dragons bloodline in your body is truly a waste of God's gift. Why don't you give the 9 dragons bloodline to me? I will definitely make it flourish. AO2 licked his lips and revealed a greedy look. Sure, but DE also has his eyes on the 9 dragons' bloodline. Aren't you afraid that he will target you if I give it to you? Lu Ming said with a smile. AO2's face fell and his eyes flickered. If he really obtained the 9 dragons' bloodline and was targeted by Martial Royal DE, he would not be able to live in peace. Even the supremes of the Jiao dragon tribe would not be able to protect him. Even the monster royal might not be able to protect him. His heart sank when he thought of this. Hee, looks like you don't dare to take it. What a coward. Come on, let's fight. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with battle intent and the true origin in his body was boiling. Roar! Roar! 2 dragon roars were heard at the same time. One of them came from AO Tuesday. He immediately turned into a Jiao dragon. The other dragon roar came from Lu Ming's body. He unleashed a burst of dragon force. Lu Ming's body was covered with a layer of purplish golden scales. He took a step forward and charged toward AO Tuesday, Golden Storm Slash. As soon as AO2 opened his mouth, a ray of dark golden light burst out from his mouth and slashed toward Lu Ming. The light was like a saber light, but it was sharper and more terrifying. Lu Ming threw out a punch and collided with the dark golden light. Boom! There was an explosion and Lu Ming's body trembled. He was pushed back 100 meters before he could regain his balance. There were still countless sharp forces on his arm that were cutting his scales, causing sparks to fly. What a powerful metal attribute will! He circulated his true essence, and with a jolt, the sharp force covering his arm was scattered. AO2 had more than 70% of the true dragon's bloodline. He was born with the ability to control metal attribute will and use it to a terrifying level. The saber light was the combination of metal attribute will and AO2's demonic force. It was extremely terrifying. Golden Storm Slash. AO2 roared again. This time, 9 beams of dark golden light burst out from his mouth, cutting through the air and slashing toward Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming instantly unleashed 2 more streams of dragon energy. He had unleashed a total of 3 streams of dragon energy. His strength had greatly increased. Lu Ming was like a human-shaped Tyrannosaurus. He rushed toward AO2 and threw out a series of punches. Bam! 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 After 9 consecutive explosions, the 9 dark golden lights were destroyed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming continued to rush toward AO Tuesday, Gilded Dragon Claw. One of AO2's dragon claws turned dark golden as if it was made of dark gold. Whoosh! He clawed at Lu Ming with his dark golden dragon claw. Clang! Lu Ming threw out a punch and clashed with the dark golden dragon claw. There was a terrifying explosion as if 2 hammers had collided. A strong storm swept out in all directions. Lu Ming's body trembled and he was pushed back 100 meters. When he landed on the ground, he took another 9 steps back. Such terrifying strength and attack power. Is this the power of a flood dragon with 70% purity? Lu Ming was shocked. AO2 should be in the middle stage of the 8th tier of the 7th grade, which was equivalent to the middle stage of the 8th tier of the spirit embryo realm. His strength and attack power were terrifying. And this was only a flood dragon with 70% purity. If it was a pure-blooded true dragon, how terrifying would it be? It was rare to see pure-blooded divine beasts in the divine wilderness continent nowadays. According to legends, there were quite a few in ancient times. How could the prodigies of the human race compete with such pure-blooded divine beasts? The only known pure-blooded divine beast in the eastern wilderness was the Demon Emperor. I wonder if there are many pure-blooded mythological beasts in that mysterious overseas continent. Lu Ming, you are no match for me. AO2 roared, interrupting Lu Ming's messy thoughts. Bam! Bam! The flood dragon stomped on the ground and charged toward Lu Ming. Is that so? Lu Ming sneered, and the bloodline of the 9 dragons appeared. In the next moment, Lu Ming turned into 9 dragons. At the same time, another surge of dragon power erupted from his body. There were 4 surges of dragon power in total. A vast dragon might spread out and surged toward AO2's day. AO2's body trembled slightly, and a trace of fear appeared in his eyes. Yes, this was AO2's instinct, his fear of those in a higher position. No matter if it was a demonic beast or a divine beast, the hierarchy was very strict. Bloodline was the highest, and there were layers of suppression. Chapter 973. Roar. The 9 dragons roared as they charged at AO2 with their claws. AO2 roared as well. He overcame his fear and charged at Lu Ming. A flood dragon and a 9 dragon immediately clashed on the fighting ring. AO2 had unleashed his metal will to the extreme. His metal will was definitely at the 4th level. His body was as hard as iron, and his claws were as hard as dark gold. They could break through anything. Each of his moves had terrifying power. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had 4 different wills around him. His power was equally terrifying. At the same time, Lu Ming unleashed the power of 4 dragons and activated the suppressing hell skill. Every inch of his muscles could unleash the power of the suppressing hell skill. Every muscle on his body was terrifyingly powerful, and every claw had the power to suppress everything. Rumble. The 2 dragons tangled together and attacked continuously. It was extremely barbaric. It was as if they had been transported to the ancient times when divine beasts and true dragons fought. Poochie. The 9 dragons had 9 claws. AO2 could not block all of them. His body was grabbed by the claws of the 9 dragons. The 9 dragons tore off a large piece of his flesh. Blood flowed out. AO2 was in pain. He fought back and tore off a piece of the 9 dragons. However, his claws were almost broken. Boom! The 9 dragons seemed to be extremely heavy. They pressed on AO2 and sent him crashing into the fighting ring. His bones cracked. The 2 fought for dozens of moves. Lu Ming was getting stronger and stronger. He gradually gained the upper hand. AO2 was still affected by the 9 dragons. He was afraid. The more he fought, the stronger his fear became. How could he be Lu Ming's match when he was afraid? Puff! Blood splattered everywhere. AO2 screamed as his body was torn apart by the 9 dragons. He struggled and escaped, but he left a large piece of Jiao dragon meat behind. Jiao dragon meat with 70% of true dragon density. Good stuff. Keep it for barbecue. Lu Ming's voice came out of the 9 dragons' mouths. Then, the piece of Jiao dragon meat disappeared. Lu Ming, that's good stuff. Save some for me later. Fatty shouted in the stands. He almost drooled. AO2 was so angry that he almost exploded. He couldn't wait to swallow Lu Ming and Fatty whole. Fatty, it's too little. These are mine. Let me get some more. Lu Ming shouted as he lunged at AO2's day. I admit defeat. AO2 suddenly roared. He was extremely unwilling. He knew that if he continued to fight, he would definitely lose. He would most likely have to pay more flood dragon meat. He admitted defeat. Lu Ming was speechless. He turned back into his human form and looked at AO2 with a pitiful face. AO2 also turned back into his human form, his face extremely gloomy. He wasn't seriously injured, but his complexion looked worse than if he had been seriously injured. This battle, he fought too sullenly. After devouring 90% of AO2's Dragon of Providence, Lu Ming's Dragon of Providence continued to grow, surpassing 2,000 feet and nearing 3,000 feet. Such a huge fate dragon was rarely seen even since ancient times. Lu Ming flew up to the spectator stand. Fatty, it's a pity that this guy admitted defeat early. There's no share for you. Lu Ming sighed. Damn it. No, we'll split it equally. Fatty grumbled. AO2, who was flying to the spectator stand, trembled and almost fell off the platform. AO2's face was extremely gloomy as he flew back to the spectator stand. The Flood Dragon supremacy didn't look any better than AO2's day. His face was as black as charcoal. Lu Ming won the battle in the end, which shocked many people. In that case, Lu Ming had entered the final battle. Next would be the battle between the Archgod and Xuejiani. The winner would have the final battle with Lu Ming. Most people thought that Di Shen would definitely win against Xuejiani. The final battle would be between Lu Ming and Di Shen. This was going to be interesting. Light flashed and enveloped Di Shen and Xuejiani. The two of them flew up to the platform. "Do we still need to fight?" Di Shen said coldly. Many people's hearts skipped a beat. Could Di Shen have fought with Xuejiani before? They had never heard of such a rumor. "I was no match for you 3 years ago, but that might not be the case now." Xuejiani exuded a shocking blood qi, and his eyes turned red like blood diamonds. Everyone was shocked. Di Shen and Xuejiani had fought 3 years ago, and it seemed that Xuejiani had lost. "You were no match for me 3 years ago, and you'll never be my match from now on." Di Shen's voice was filled with great confidence. "You'll know after the battle." Xuejiani shouted and stepped out. Terrifying sword qi burst out from his body and filled the air. This was sword intent. Xuejiani stepped forward and sword intent filled the air. Clang! Di Shen's body also emitted a sword cry, and in the next moment, a powerful sword qi burst out. It was also sword intent. Di Shen and Xuejiani had both comprehended sword intent. Bam! Bam! Both of them stepped forward, and as they did, sword intent surged. Clang! Clang! Their sword intents crossed dozens of miles and clashed in the air. Explosions and sword cries kept erupting in the air between them, and sparks flew in all directions. Everyone's face turned serious. This sword intent was too terrifying. The two of them had yet to make a move, but the sword intent that leaked out could easily kill an expert of the 7th level of the spirit embryo realm. Xiao! Xiao! Suddenly, both of them stepped forward, and their bodies turned into sword lights, cutting through the air and slashing at each other. Clang! The two sword lights clashed in the air, and sword qi shot out in all directions. The two sword lights retreated and clashed again. Clang! Clang! In an instant, the two of them had exchanged dozens of blows. Those with lower cultivation couldn't even see the two of them, and could only see the two sword lights clashing in the air. A golden sword light and a blood-red sword light. But at this moment, the golden sword light surged, and the blood-red sword light was sent flying. Di Shen, peak of the 8th level of the spirit embryo realm, and Xuejiani, late stage of the 8th level of the spirit embryo realm. Lu Ming's heart stirred, and he could see the cultivation of both of them. Furthermore, both of their sword intent had reached the 4th level. This was a clash of 4th level sword intents. However, it was obvious that Di Shen's cultivation was higher, and he repelled Xuejiani. The blood-red sword light retreated, and Xuejiani's figure appeared. At this moment, the blood-red glow on his body became brighter and brighter. Xuejiani, unsheath! Xuejiani waved his hand, and a blood-red battle sword flew out from the heart of his brows. The moment the battle sword flew out, it became dozens of meters long. What was shocking was that after the battle sword grew, it split into 2, then 4, and finally 16 huge blood-red battle swords that danced around Xuejiani. Kill! Xuejiani shouted, and with a wave of his sword finger, the 16 battle swords danced, turning into 16 sword lights that pierced towards Di Shen. Chapter 974. 16 blood-red battle swords surrounded by boundless sword qi blasted towards the Archgod. At this moment, the Archgod's face flushed red as he felt the blood in his body boiling. That's the blood essence. Xuejiani has merged the blood essence and sword essence into one. Someone exclaimed. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes. No wonder Xuejiani ranked second on the list of top 1,000 talents. He was so powerful that he had not only comprehended two powerful essences, but also merged them together. Lu Ming could see that Xue Jianyi's blood essence and sword essence had both reached level 4. How terrifying would it be to merge two level 4 essences? Swoosh! 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 The merging of the two essences created thousands of sword qi that enveloped Dishan and blocked his escape route. Golden sword qi rushed out of Dishan's body and slashed out continuously. Every time he slashed out, countless sword qi would be destroyed and replaced by more blood-red sword qi. For a moment, Dishan was at a disadvantage. No way, Dishan is actually at a disadvantage. Is Dishan going to lose? Xue Jianyi's two essences have both reached level 4 and merged successfully. He's indeed powerful, but Dishan should have more tricks up his sleeve. Everyone was talking about it. Dishan frowned slightly. He gave up blocking the sword qi and let the sword qi pierce his body. Many people's hearts were in their mouths. They did not understand what Dishan meant. Swoosh! Swoosh! The sword qi pierced through Dishan's body and his figure collapsed. Then, everyone saw that Dishan's body had already appeared dozens of meters away. As soon as his figure appeared, sword qi pierced towards him from all directions. However, it was as if he was taking a stroll in the park. He took a step forward and his figure instantly disappeared. In the next moment, he appeared dozens of meters away. Just like that, his figure continued to flicker, and the endless sword qi from all directions could not do anything to him at all. Instantaneous step. It's the legendary instantaneous step. Someone exclaimed in shock. What? Instantaneous step? Legend has it that one needs to comprehend the space essence to perform the instantaneous step. How is that possible? Has Dishan comprehended the space essence? Oh my god, it's definitely the space essence. Cries of alarm were heard one after another. Furthermore, the people that had spoken were all people of the older generation. It's the concept of space. Bai Shijing, Yan Kuangtu, and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. Lu Ming's pupils shrank rapidly. There were tens of thousands of concepts in the world. Of course, there were also distinctions between high and low. Among them, two extremely famous concepts were the concept of space and time. Time and space. Myriad concepts, space-time king. The concept of time and the concept of space were the kings of tens of thousands of concepts. One could see how terrifying they were. But Dishan had actually comprehended the space will. I didn't expect the Emperor God to have comprehended the space essence and successfully integrated it with the sword essence. He's indeed a peerless figure ranked first on the list of top 1,000 talents. But judging from his space essence, he's probably only at the completion of level 3 and hasn't broken through to level 4. Otherwise, he'd be invincible. Bai Shijing said with a solemn expression. Xue Jianyi's expression turned grave when the sovereign god used the intent of space. His sword fingers danced as he unleashed a barrage of attacks. However, the sovereign god's body flickered and the surrounding sword qi couldn't do anything to him. Whoosh! Suddenly, Dishan slashed out with his sword. This sword was casually slashed at the air and did not seem to be aimed at Xue Jianyi. However, Xue Jianyi's expression suddenly changed and he quickly retreated. Whoosh! Just as Xue Jianyi retreated, a sword light slashed at the spot where he had been standing. Dishan's attack could pass through layers of the void and deal a terrifying blow to Xue Jianyi. It was strange and terrifying. If Dishan became a killer, he would be the most terrifying killer in the world. Whoosh! Whoosh! Dishan's battle sword continued to slash out of thin air. Then, sword light appeared around Xue Jianyi and slashed at him. Xue Jianyi retreated rapidly. Dishan used the instantaneous step and chased after Xue Jianyi rapidly. The distance between the two was getting closer and closer. It seems that Dishan's attack is limited by distance. Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he realized what was going on. Dishan's space essence should be limited by distance. If the distance was too far, his sword chi would not be able to pass through space to attack others. This was normal. If there was no limit, he would be able to take someone's head from hundreds of millions of miles away. This was beyond terrifying. However, as Dishan's cultivation and space essence improved, this distance would increase, and the further he progressed, the more terrifying it would be. It wasn't just a saying that time and space were king. As the distance between the two closed, Xue Jianyi was at a disadvantage and could lose at any moment. Wang! At this moment, Xue Jianyi's spine shone and a blood-red battle sword appeared above his head. This battle sword had 7 golden chakras around it. This was Xue Jianyi's bloodline, a level 7 divine class bloodline. Xue Jianyi merged with his bloodline and turned into a huge blood-red battle sword. Sword chi shot up into the sky and slashed out. Dishan's sword chi was shattered. Shua! The blood-red battle sword slashed at Dishan. Defeat! Tiangang Emperor Sword. Dishan took a big step forward and spat out a word coldly. He pointed his sword forward and slashed down. Hua la! In that instant, the space above Xue Jianyi's head suddenly shattered, and boundless sword chi imbued with spatial slicing intent crashed down toward Xue Jianyi. That's a low-grade divine class martial skill and a low-grade divine class bloodline martial skill. A supreme being figure cried out, feeling incredibly shocked. Everyone present was also greatly shocked, and their pupils rapidly widened. A divine class martial skill, a low-grade divine class bloodline martial skill. Dishan had actually comprehended such a terrifying martial skill from his bloodline. He wasn't even at the spirit god realm. Even if it was a terrifying expert at the domain enlightened spirit god realm, there were many that hadn't comprehended divine rank martial techniques. Clang! 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 Countless terrifying sword chi landed on Xue Jianyi's sword. The blood-red battle sword trembled violently, but in just a dozen breaths of time, it seemed like it couldn't hold on any longer. A divine class martial skill was too powerful. Break! Xue Jianyi roared as blood-red sword chi shot up into the sky. The blood-red battle sword spun rapidly like a drill and charged out of the area enveloped by the sword chi. With a flash of blood-red light, it transformed back into Xue Jianyi. At this moment, Xue Jianyi was in a sorry state. His aura was weak, his face was pale, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. I've lost. Xue Jianyi sighed and admitted defeat to Dishan. After Xue Jianyi admitted defeat, Dishan withdrew his aura. At the same time, the Dragon of Providence above Dishan's head devoured 90% of Xue Jianyi's Dragon of Providence. Many people in the surrounding sighed as well. It wasn't that Xue Jianyi wasn't strong enough, but that Dishan was too strong. However, after this battle, everyone finally saw a portion of Dishan's strength. He was at the peak of the 8th level of the spirit embryo realm and had grasped the concept of space and sword. Moreover, he had comprehended a low-grade divine class bloodline martial skill. Such strength was simply too shocking. Bai Shijin, Du Songjue, Yan Kuangtu, Bai Qi, Xue, Fatty, and the others all had solemn expressions. Chapter 975. Lu Ming, if you can't beat him, just admit defeat. You have achieved enough. I believe no one will object to you becoming the official Zongzi. Bai Shijin whispered to Lu Ming. That's right, Lu Ming. Do what you can. Du Songjue also whispered a warning. Seniors, don't worry. Lu Ming knows what to do. Lu Ming smiled. It seemed that no one thought that he could win. Bai Shijin and Du Songjue were tactful, but their meaning was obvious. They did not think that he could win. It did not feel good to be looked down upon. There was a sharp glint in Lu Ming's eyes. How would he know if he did not fight? At that moment, the Dishan looked at Lu Ming. Then, he stepped out and landed on the spectator stand. There was only one battle left, but the light did not fall on Lu Ming and the Dishan. Obviously, the ancient city of Providence was very kind and gave the Dishan some time to rest and recover. The Dishan closed his eyes and adjusted his breath. Half an hour later, he opened his eyes. Buzz! Buzz! Two rays of light fell on Lu Ming and the Dishan. The ultimate battle had begun. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming and the Dishan moved almost at the same time. In a flash, they landed on the fighting ring and stood opposite each other. A Providence dragon that was almost 300 feet long floated above Lu Ming's head. On the other hand, the Providence dragon above the Dishans was more than 260 feet long. It was only a few hundred feet away from Lu Ming's Providence dragon. The two Providence dragons were facing each other. The Dishan's eyes were calm and indifferent. He looked at Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, you have seen my strength. Do you still think that there is a need to fight?" His voice was calm, but it was full of confidence. "How do you know that you will win before the battle?" Lu Ming smiled faintly. "All right, then today, let me completely crush your confidence." The Dishan's eyes shone with a sharp light. He said, "I wanted to kill you today, but His Majesty asked me not to. I will spare you today." "Oh? Is that so?" Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The Emperor God's intention was very simple. Initially, he wanted to have a life-and-death battle with Lu Ming and kill him. However, Martial Emperor De had asked him not to kill Lu Ming. Obviously, Martial Emperor De wanted to capture Lu Ming alive and take his 9 dragons bloodline. The Dishan, the number 1 of the list. There was determination in Lu Ming's eyes. No matter what, Lu Ming had to win today. If he couldn't even defeat Dishan and De, a junior, how could he fight against De? Lu Ming strode toward the Dishan. With every step he took, the aura on Lu Ming's body became more violent. 4 different wills surrounded him. His genuine core power and dragon power burst out. His skin was covered with a layer of dragon power. 1, 2, 3. Lu Ming burst out 3 streams of dragon power in one breath. Kill! The Dishan's sword essence filled his body, and a vast sword power burst out. He took a step forward and approached Lu Ming quickly. A combat sword appeared in his hand, and he slashed out. The sword essence bloomed, and streaks of terrifying sword radiance slashed toward Lu Ming. Boom! 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 Lu Ming threw out a dozen punches, and each time, a sword radiance was shattered. After a dozen punches, more than a dozen sword radiances were shattered. Dishan, use your full strength. You can't defeat me like this. Lu Ming shouted, and the battle intent in his eyes grew stronger. Since that's the case, I'll fulfill your wish. The Dishan's indifferent voice rang out, and the aura on his body grew stronger. His cultivation at the peak of the 8th level of Spirit Embryo Realm was revealed. Swoosh! He took a step forward, and his body seemed to travel through space. In the next moment, he appeared dozens of meters away and rushed toward Lu Ming. At the same time, his combat sword slashed at the air. At this moment, Lu Ming's hair stood on end, and a strong sense of danger rose in his heart. Swoosh! At this critical moment, Lu Ming stomped his foot and retreated quickly. Lu Ming had just retreated when a sword radiance slashed out from where he had been standing. It hit the fighting ring, causing sparks to fly. Your spiritual sense is quite sharp, but let's see how many moves you can take. The Dishan said coldly, and his combat sword slashed out continuously. In an instant, he had slashed out dozens of times. Lu Ming's sense of danger grew stronger. Without hesitation, he ran wildly on the fighting ring. Swoosh! 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 Wherever Lu Ming ran, sword radiances would slash out continuously. Every slash almost landed on Lu Ming's body. Do you only know how to run? But in front of me, you don't even have the right to run. The Dishan snorted and took a few steps forward. His figure appeared on the fighting ring like a phantom, as if he was traveling through space. In a few breaths, he was close to Lu Ming. He slashed out with his combat sword, and countless sword radiances appeared in all directions around Lu Ming, sealing off all of Lu Ming's escape routes. Since I can't dodge, I'll just use my strength to explode. Lu Ming's eyes revealed a ferocious look, and the last 3 strands of dragon energy in his body exploded. A total of 6 strands of dragon energy, and Lu Ming exploded all at once. His strength increased crazily, and Lu Ming threw out dozens of punches in all directions. Boom! 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 The sword radiances in the surroundings were all shattered. However, Lu Ming did not stop, and continued to throw punches. Every punch was accompanied by a terrifying explosion of power, completely distorting and compressing the space. The sword radiances slashed out by the Dishan were crushed before they could slash out from the space. The Dishan's eyes turned cold, and he continued to slash out with his combat sword, while Lu Ming's fists continued to bombard the air. Every attack shattered the Dishan's sword radiances. Lu Ming's move is not bad. Yan Kuangtu laughed. Although the Dishan's sword can travel through the void and change unpredictably, when the sword radiances are about to be slashed out, there will be fluctuations in the space. As long as Lu Ming senses the fluctuations, he will bombard the space with his powerful fist force, causing the space to distort, and the Dishan's sword radiances will not be able to slash out. Supreme Nine Yang also nodded. Many big shots secretly nodded. They had seen through the trick, but they were also secretly shocked. It was not difficult to sense the fluctuations in space, but the key was to block them. That was the difficult part. Each of Lu Ming's punches was terrifyingly powerful. They discovered that the power that Lu Ming displayed at this moment was stronger than when he was fighting AO2 earlier. When Lu Ming fought with AO2 earlier, he had actually concealed his abilities. This shocked them. Humph! Your strength is not bad. Then I will defeat you directly. The Dishan snorted and stopped attacking. He took a step forward, and his body was like a flickering shadow. He was unbelievably fast, and he instantly closed in on Lu Ming. After comprehending the space essence, his speed was also terrifyingly fast. Lu Ming realized that even if he used the 9 dragon sky stomping steps, he would still be a little slower. As he closed in on Lu Ming, the Dishan's body erupted with terrifying sword power. The mighty sword power pressed down on Lu Ming, and the terrifying sword radiance slashed down on Lu Ming. The void was distorted and even cracked open. The power of the sword was extremely terrifying. The fusion of the space essence and sword essence allowed the power of the sword to reach the peak. Even if Lu Ming wanted to retreat, there was nowhere for him to go. If he retreated, he would have to face the Dishan's even more violent attacks. Chapter 976. Lu Ming had a crazed look in his eyes as he channeled his true essence and pushed the power of the suppressing hell skill to 50%. He then threw a punch. Boom! The fist and the sword chi collided, causing a terrifying explosion. Boundless sword chi spread out in all directions, and so did the fist radiance. However, it was blocked by a layer of invisible force at the edge of the fighting ring and disappeared into nothingness. Bang! 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 Lu Ming took 3 steps back as his blood boiled. Not bad. Take another strike from me. Celestial Dipper Emperor Sword. The Emperor God roared and slashed down again. The moment the sword struck, endless sword gleams burst forth, slashing toward Lu Ming with the intention of slicing space. It was the Celestial Dipper Emperor Sword, an inferior divine bloodline martial technique. The Emperor God had just used this move to defeat Xuejiani. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the fighting ring, waiting to see how Lu Ming would block this move. The dragon roared and 9 dragons appeared. Lu Ming turned into 9 dragons. Boom! 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 The 9 dragons clawed and pushed the suppressing hell skill to 60%. The sound of explosions continued to ring out. Most of the sword lights were blocked, but there were still a few sword lights that weren't blocked. They landed on the 9 dragons' bodies, and immediately, their scales were cut open. Deep wounds appeared on the 9 dragons' bodies, and blood flowed out. However, Lu Ming blocked it in the end. He can block the Emperor God's divine bloodline martial technique. Is Lu Ming also using a divine bloodline martial technique? Someone exclaimed in disbelief. Even Xue Jianyi was defeated by this move. It was unbelievable that Lu Ming could block it. It's definitely a divine bloodline martial technique. A supreme being said. Everyone was in disbelief. Lu Ming had also mastered a divine bloodline martial technique. It was too shocking. The situation is not good for Lu Ming. Although they have also mastered a divine bloodline martial technique, they can't unleash the full power of the divine bloodline martial technique with their cultivation. However, the Emperor God's cultivation is stronger and the power of the divine bloodline martial technique is stronger. Yan Kuangtu said worriedly. The others didn't say anything, but their expressions were very solemn. On the fighting stage, Dishan's eyes shone with a sharp and terrifying light. His voice was no longer indifferent, but filled with sharpness. Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to be able to take this move of mine. Not bad indeed. Let's see how you're going to take this next move. Big Dipper Emperor's sword, one sword to conquer the world. Dishan's entire body seemed to have turned golden, like a golden sun. The battle sword in his hand slashed out violently, twisting the space in all directions. Finally, the space was torn apart by Dishan's sword light, wrapped together, and slashed towards Lu Ming. It was reasonable to say that only spiritual god experts could slash open space. However, Emperor gods were clearly still a distance away from spiritual god, yet they could slash open space. This didn't mean that their battle strength had reached the spiritual god level, but it was because of their space concept. Driven by the concept of space, it cut through space. With the power of space cutting, it attacked Lu Ming. Space was distorted, and sword light was everywhere. Lu Ming resisted with all his might. His dragon claws clawed out continuously, and his dragon tail lashed out like a divine whip. However, there were too many sword lights around him, and their power was too strong. With Lu Ming's strength, he couldn't block all of them. The incomparably sharp sword qi wandered around Lu Ming's body, cutting open wounds on his body. Lu Ming ignored his injuries and fought back with all his might, fighting with Dishan. Refine, refine for me. At the same time, Lu Ming was refining the energy of the origin stones continuously to break through to the next realm. He had secretly let the 9 dragons swallow more than 200,000 origin stones. He wanted to break through to the next realm while fighting. He felt that he was almost at the 8th level of spirit embryo realm. Dishan was too strong. If Lu Ming didn't break through to the next realm, it would be hard for him to defeat Dishan. Dishan had 2 kinds of concepts. His sword concept was at the 4th level, and his space concept was at the 3rd level of perfection. The fusion of the 2 concepts wasn't any weaker than Lu Ming's fusion of 4 concepts. Dishan also controlled god-level martial skills and cultivated techniques. Needless to say, they were also god-level techniques. Moreover, they were extremely powerful god-level techniques, and the vital essence in their bodies was extremely dense. Lu Ming didn't have any advantage over Dishan in these aspects. Lu Ming had the support of the dragon's power, but Lu Ming felt that Dishan also had the support of a mysterious power that was incomparably strong and unstoppable. Lu Ming didn't have any advantage over Dishan in any aspect. In terms of cultivation, Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. Lu Ming gave it his all and fought with Dishan for dozens of moves. At this moment, the scales on the 9 dragons cracked and fell off. They were covered with sword wounds, and fresh blood flowed out. It was a tragic sight. Lu Ming. Bai Qi Snow's small hands were tightly clenched together. There was a layer of mist in her big eyes, and she was extremely worried. Fatty, Tingting, and the rest didn't say a word. They stared at the battle stage, and they were also extremely worried. On the other hand, those from the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, Sky Demon Valley, and Sky Corpse sect were gloating. Lu Ming is definitely going to lose. He can't be a match for Dishan. What is he waiting for? He's just fighting to the death. I already knew that he couldn't be a match for Dishan. I think Lu Ming will be defeated in less than 10 moves. Voices could be heard coming from the surroundings. It's a pity that this isn't a life-and-death battle. Lu Ming can admit defeat at any time. However, since he has offended Martial Emperor De, he will die sooner or later. The Wang family head thought to himself. At this moment, Dishan's aura was getting stronger and stronger. Every time he slashed out, sword chi would shock the heavens. The space and sword intent combined to suppress Lu Ming. More and more wounds appeared on the 9 dragons' bodies. Refine, refine. Break for me. Lu Ming roared in his heart, and the vital essence in his body boiled. Suddenly, a powerful aura rushed out from the 9 dragons' bodies. What? Cultivation breakthrough? How is that possible? He actually broke through at this time. Impossible. Voices of disbelief rang out. The big shots on the spectator stand shouted in disbelief and stood up. Lu Ming actually broke through in the battle, and it was in the battle with Dishan. How was that possible? Unbelievable. This kid, every time he exceeds my expectations. He has my style. The fatty grinned and was extremely excited. Yan Kuangtu, Bai Shijin, and the others were also excited. Lu Ming's move was also beyond their expectations. Damn it! Dishan's eyes were no longer calm. Anger and killing intent burst out from them. Lu Ming actually had a breakthrough in his cultivation level during the battle with him. This was simply a humiliation to him. He looked down on him and wanted to use him to break through. At this moment, Dishan's body burst out with an extremely strong killing intent. The 9 dragons' bloodline is indeed amazing. A faint voice rang out. The person who spoke was Martial Emperor De. The crowd was shocked and then came to a realization. It was not that Lu Ming was too heaven-defying, but the 9 dragons' bloodline. That was why he was able to break through in the battle. Dishan's heart calmed down, but the light in his eyes was even colder. Yan Kuangtu, Bai Shijin, and the others secretly cursed De for being so cunning. With a single sentence, he blamed the shock caused by Lu Ming on the 9 dragons' bloodline, which calmed Dishan's heart.